Hey guys, welcome to another movie review. You can probably tell by my shirt today that I'm going to be reviewing the new James Gunn Superman reboot that just came out here in July of 2025. In this movie, guys, this is the first chapter of this new DC universe due to the fact that the DC extended universe that we had previously, with Man of Steel and Wonder Woman and Justice League and all that stuff. Obviously, those box office results for those films haven't been the greatest, so they kind of wanted to restart. So we started here with James Gunn's Superman movie. And in this movie, guys, we actually don't really even have a Superman origin story this time. It really is more so Superman kind of already being Superman for a little while now. And we kind of start the film with him losing his first battle that he ever had in Metropolis. And so, obviously he's taking this personally. He's trying to figure out what went wrong and all this other stuff. But while all that's going on, he's also Superman also gets kind of wrapped up in this bad viral video that Lex Luthor and some of his people that he works for managed to recruit from the Fortress of Solitude while he was away from it. There was basically a video message that Clark Kent got while he was a kid. And in the message, all he was able to kind of decipher from it was that his Krypton parents wanted him to be the best person he possibly could. And obviously, while he was being Superman, they wanted him to be the best possible Superman he possibly could. But the rest of the message got damaged, and or at least according to Lex Luthor, you really can't really trust that. But he claimed that the other part of the message that got damaged was saying that they wanted that his parents wanted him to basically destroy Earth to make it the next Krypton, kind of like what General Zod wanted to do with Man of Steel back when that came out. And so obviously this puts Superman in a very bad space. People think that he's trying to basically take over Earth, rule over the people, um, become king himself of the world and stuff like that. So obviously this puts Superman in a bad light. People don't want him to be Superman anymore. And so over the course of this film, Superman has to team up with Lois Lane and some other people to basically show that Lex Luthor's message was not true, that he is trying to be the hero of the city that he always claimed and always believed he could be, and basically has to stop Lex Luthor in his plans of showing that he basically make sure that he's not that threat to Earth that Lex Luthor claimed that he was trying to be, and trying to be the best possible superhero for the Metropolis city that he always promised that he was going to be for them. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed this new Superman movie. It's not my favorite of the Superman films. I would probably say Man of Steel is probably still my favorite one. And I also really like the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2. I always thought that was really well made back when that came out. But this is a very good Superman movie. I think this is a very good start to this new DC universe. I think James Gunn has kind of set up a world where heroes can exist, and Clark Kent isn't the only person with superpowers. I do like that this universe does feel kind of lived in, and that people with superpowers is something that's kind of always been around, and Superman just happens to be another part of that piece of people that have powers and stuff like that. Because we do have Hawk Girl in this movie, we do have Green Lantern in this film, which isn't no surprise at all because they're featured in most of the marketing and the trailers. So I really feel like that's not a spoiler at all. And clearly, we have other characters that probably have superpowers in this world as well. Once we eventually get to see, Batman and Wonder Woman and all this other stuff. So I just really was overall really impressed with this movie, and I highly recommend seeing it. But I do want to go over some positives and negatives as to why I really enjoyed the film. But there's also some things about it that I think could have used improvement, and why I overall feel that I think Man of Steel, for me personally, is the better Superman movie. So for my positives and negatives of this film, I think for the positives, obviously first, this is a great cast. I thought David Corenswet was a terrific Superman, a terrific Clark Kent. I liked how he balanced both characters. Rachel Brosnahan plays the new Lois Lane here, and she's also very good here as well. There's even a character that I really wasn't expecting to like as much as I did, and that's Metamorpho. And he's this character that Superman has to basically befriend when they both get into this conflict with Lex Luthor. And I thought his character was relatable and likable, and he's just this alien creature that wants to have his son back and not be this terrible person that Lex Luthor is trying to make him become. And once again, just another fun character that was well written and well realized and has good intentions. And he's clearly trying to help Superman, achieve his goals of being the best hero that he can be for Metropolis. And just an overall great cast for this movie. I thought it was just a really well cast movie. Nobody felt miscast at all. Um, the Mr. Fantastic was another fun addition to this film. Isabela Merced, who just finished up her season 2 of Last of Us, she plays the new hot girl here. I thought she was very good. And even Nathan Fillion, who plays the new Green Lantern here, Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, I thought he was very good and very comedic and very fun in this film as well. So overall, just a really great cast. Really was not disappointed with any of the casting choices of this film. I also thought the comic book visual look of this film was also very good and very impressive. You could definitely tell that James Gunn is trying to achieve a more comic book accurate kind of look with Superman. I think, once again, that's a pretty good route to go in. I like how they're trying to create a more hopeful Superman this time around. And I would even go so far as to say they're trying to create a more hopeful DC universe as far as everything is concerned, too. Because I do feel like when we got the previous, the DCEU, I guess was the last one, was what it was called last time. I thought the overall aesthetic was a little too dark. Even Man of Steel, a film that I really liked, had some really washed out colors in it. And when we eventually got to like Batman versus Superman, some other darker films, it just felt a little too dark for its own good, to the point where I just wasn't even having fun with the story. It just felt like everything was just all gloom and doom, and I just didn't like the look of that movie. So I'm glad that they're kind of avoiding the whole Batman versus Superman dark aesthetic. I am glad that they're trying to go for something a little more hopeful this time. So I do like how James Gunn was able to achieve that whole comic book look. I thought that was very effective for this film. I also like how this new Superman film reflects the benefits of being a good person. I think that's always a good message to have in a film. And I really like how this film kind of tugs at your heartstrings as far as really making you feel something for that message in the film whenever Clark is trying to break down how he's trying to be the best person he possibly can be. Once again, really effective stuff in the film. And like I just mentioned earlier, I think this is a great start for the new DC universe. So I am glad that we are going to get more films in this universe, kind of seeing what, Batman and Wonder Woman and all these other characters are going to be like in this universe. James Gunn has claimed that each film is going to have their kind of own individual tone, while making sure that when characters cross over, that's going to be an effective tone that crosses over the right way. And once again, all good stuff here. I hope every director that gets signed on to one of these films gets their own aesthetic, gets their own version of like a hopeful tone, like what this new Superman film did. And just overall great start to this DC universe. I also thought the Clark Kent Lois Lane relationship was also very strong here. Their back and forth was very good. Even how their relationship is overall working, and kind of how Lois kind of already knows who Clark is at the Daily Planet and all this other stuff, and how they kind of work that in and kind of give him the outfit that they do for being Clark Kent and all this other stuff. So I thought their relationship was really effective overall. I also thought Jimmy Olsen was very fun this time around. This is a very fun Jimmy Olsen we get in this film. So if you were hoping for a good version of Jimmy Olsen in the Superman film, I think they found it this time around. But like I said, Clark Kent and Lois Lane, their relationship was very effective in this film. We also do have a live-action version of Crypto the dog in this movie. Very effective, very cute, very helpful when he's needed to be. I also like how Crypto is kind of a troublemaker too. Like there's scenes where Superman really needs him to do something to kind of help him save the day and stuff. And Crypto's just kind of overall just playing with the rugs, playing with the toys, getting the treats if he's broken into a pet store on accident and stuff. So he's kind of a little bit of a troublemaker himself, but he's a good troublemaker. So I like that aspect of Crypto. A very cute little dog, and I just liked how he was overall handled in the film. And I overall just really felt invested in all the other metahumans. I liked how they handled Green Lantern and Hawk Girl, and how they kind of set up the fact that metahumans have lived on Earth for a while, and it's just kind of something that people have kind of accepted in this universe. So I thought that aspect of the story was also very effective here too. But for my negatives of the new Superman movie, I thought the second half was just not as strong as the first half. I thought the first half was really good about making you feel invested, kind of throwing you into that universe and kind of really making you feel it. I'm invested in all the future stuff that's going on. But I thought the second half just felt a little typical to me. It just kind of felt like we have to save the day. We have to throw Superman in the darkest possible situation we can. Lex Luthor has to be stopped. The viral message has to be resolved and all this other stuff. I thought by the second half it just kind of became a little too predictable for its own good, and I liked how the first half of the film really kind of gave us this Superman film that we really haven't seen before, while also giving us a Superman film that felt very comic accurate to the way you would read in a comic book for the story of Superman. So I thought overall the first half was a little more impressive than the second half, but that's just my opinion, of course. I also thought there was more origin story elements that the story could have used because we are kind of legitimately thrown into this story. And I think when you do that, the problem is when we introduced, characters that work for Lex Luthor and all these other side characters that we're not familiar yet, that's really kind of all we know about them is that they just happen to be an evil character that happens to work for this character that we know for. And for me personally, I don't think that's always the best way to write a story. I like stories where I can tell people, who the characters are, where they came from, and all this other stuff. I'm not saying they necessarily had to do another origin story for Superman, but I do feel like, as far as getting this universe set up, really feeling invested in it, I think it really should have been more origin story elements that helped us kind of learn more about some of these other characters that we don't really know a lot about yet. So I thought that aspect of the story could have used improvement too, is because this is the first chapter of this universe, we do kind of need a little bit more origin story elements to make sure we know exactly what kind of universe we're getting invested in. I also thought some of the humor was a little hit and miss. Some of the humor obviously worked, some of it didn't. I know James Gunn is always good about throwing in some humor into his stories and stuff. I do feel for overall for a Superman story though, I do like how he was trying to achieve a hopeful tone with it. But I feel like when he was doing some of the humor, some of it worked, some of it didn't. Some of it just felt like it was just kind of punching up a scene that probably felt kind of lame while reading the script. So I thought some of the humor was a little hit or miss for me. And overall, too, if I do have to kind of choose a Superman film that I prefer over this one, I am going to choose Man of Steel. Man of Steel, I thought, had a better story by David S. Goyer. I do like how we kind of got to see more of an origin of Superman in that movie. I do like the idea of what if this alien human came to Earth and was trying to adapt to it and kind of the struggles he would face before being accepted as Superman. Like, I thought that was kind of an interesting way to tell a Superman story. I also like how the Kents were more regular parents and weren't just these old grandparents taking care of Clark Kent. I know that's kind of a trope right now, and or has been a trope for a while in the Superman stories. So I do like Zack Snyder's idea of giving Clark some regular parents. I thought that was kind of a good way to handle that. Um, but overall, not a bad film. I just, for me personally, if I'm trying to break down what I want in a Superman movie, I felt like Man of Steel kind of delivered that a little bit better. And it does help that Christopher Nolan was a producer on that film, and I'm a huge fan of his. And then for my last negative point, or my last two negative points, I should say, um, I didn't really understand why so many people wanted to work for Lex Luthor in this universe. Clearly, he's a guy that has a lot of money and is able to get his employees a lot of money, I would assume, but there's just a lot of scenes where if Lex Luthor was really giving these employees such horrible work conditions, making them work all the time, clearly making them work more than 40 hours a week, clearly trying to make them hurt this Superman character that Metropolis is trying to like, I just don't understand why so many people would want to come work for him. And so it's just one of those things where the universe that we're establishing here doesn't really say if LexCorp is kind of the Amazon of that universe or the Elon Musk of that universe or whatever, because like clearly the guy has a ton of money and a ton of power, but it's never really clear why so many people want to come work for him. I thought that aspect of the story felt a little lazy to me too. And I also think overall, if you're going into this film completely blind, if you've never seen a Superman film before, I would say be sure you see at least one of them or two of them. Preferably the Christopher Reeve Superman film or Man of Steel, because I think those films do have a better job of giving you the overall Superman origin story. This does seem like the kind of film where you kind of have to have a little bit of knowledge about the hero you're witnessing, before going into the film, because like I said, we are kind of literally thrown into the story, and I do feel like the more knowledge you have going into the film, the better experience I think you're going to have with the film as well. But overall, I'm going to give Superman an 8.5 out of 10. It's a very well made movie. It's a very well done reboot. There's tons of admirable things about it. But like I said, just enough things about it too where if I have to choose what Superman film I prefer to watch when I'm in a Superman mood, I am going to go the Man of Steel route. I feel like there's a little bit more to that movie that I enjoy overall over this one. But still a very solid film, a great start to this new DC universe. Can't wait to see what James Gunn and his crew do for his other DC Universe movies. And I do highly recommend this new Superman film. It's an 8.5 out of 10 for me.